Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu repeated his stance that there was no substitute for victory in the war against Hamas. He stated, "We are committed to fighting until we achieve all of our objectives, which is eliminating Hamas, returning all of our hostages, ensuring that Gaza never again constitutes a threat to Israel, and returning our residents securely to their homes in the south and the north." Meanwhile, the Arab mediators' efforts, backed by the United States, have stalled, and the US built pier for supplying aid has been dismantled. In yet another development, Israel has released 55 Palestinians it had detained from Gaza. The United Nations and other relief agencies have voiced alarm over the dire humanitarian crisis and the threat of starvation that the assault and Israeli siege have brought for Gaza's 2.4 million people. There was no water, no sanitation, or food left in Gaza, and that the people were living back in the buildings that are just empty shells. Amid stalled diplomatic efforts and mounting international concern, the question looms: how will this conflict shape the future of the region? Throughout this video, we will take a close look at these issues and other developments in the region. Hang around till the end of this video and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Residents continue to flee Rafah in the south and Shujayea in the north as Israeli tanks push deeper into both areas. At least 6 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza's southern city of Rafah, according to the Palestine Red Crescent Society, and several homes have been destroyed as Israeli forces pushed deeper into the city and pressed further into Shujayea in northern Gaza. Israeli tanks, which re entered Shujaya 4 days ago, fired shells towards several houses, leaving families trapped inside and unable to leave. The conditions in the Shujaya neighborhood of Gaza City have deteriorated after the Israeli ground invasion began on Thursday. People were trapped since airstrikes began, and it was difficult to get out of the neighborhood under fire. The United Nations Humanitarian Agency (OCHA) estimated that 60,000 to 80,000 people were displaced from Shujaya since new fighting broke out there on Thursday, and the Israeli army issued evacuation orders. In Shujaya, a residential flat was targeted, and at least 15 people have been killed. Today, in the north, after people's homes were directly hit by artillery shells. In Rafah, there was a continuation of indiscriminate Israeli attacks as residents flee for their lives. In the Al Mawasi district, declared a safe zone by Israel's military, they have been setting fire to makeshift tent camps where displaced Palestinians have been sheltering. In the occupied West Bank, confrontations broke out between Israeli soldiers and young Palestinians during an Israeli raid on the town of Tal, south of Nablus. Israeli forces also raided the town of Avarta, east of Nablus, and the town of Khirbet Bani Harith, west of Ramallah. While the offensive focused on Gaza, in the Israeli occupied West Bank, one man was killed and five were wounded in an Israeli strike near the city of Tulkarem. Residents said the Israeli army had torched the Al Auda Mosque in the center of Rafah, one of the city's best known. Israel has said its military operations in Rafah are aimed at eradicating the last armed battalions of Hamas. It continues to severely restrict the entry of much needed humanitarian aid, medicine, and fuel into the enclave, which is on the verge of famine. The armed wing of Islamic Jihad said it had fired the salvo that targeted several southern Israeli communities along the border with Gaza. Israel's military said Palestinian militants fired on Monday a barrage of some 20 projectiles from Gaza's main southern city of Khan Yunis, and that forces were striking the suspected launch site. A number of the projectiles were intercepted, and some of the projectiles fell inside southern Israel. Hamas says any deal must end the offensive and bring a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Israel says it will accept only temporary pauses in the fighting until Hamas, which has governed Gaza since 2007, is eradicated. The armed wing of Hamas and the allied Palestinian Islamic Jihad reported fierce fighting in both Shujaiya and Rafah, saying their fighters had fired anti tank rockets and mortar bombs against Israeli forces operating there. Israel's offensive has so far killed at least 37,877 people and has left the heavily built up coastal enclave in ruins. Israeli tanks pushed deeper into several districts in the east, west, and center of Rafah, near the border with Egypt on Sunday, and medics said 6 people had been killed in an Israeli strike on a house in Shabura, in the heart of the city. 6 bodies from the Zurub family were transferred to the Nasser hospital in the nearby city of Khan Yunis, where dozens of relatives paid their respects. In another development, Israel has released 55 Palestinians it detained from Gaza. Mohammed Abu Selmia, the director of the territory's main hospital, was also detained in November when Israeli forces raided Al Shifa hospital. Palestinian health officials say Israeli raids have forced several hospitals to shut down or dramatically reduce services, recklessly endangering civilians. The army said Hamas was using the facility for military purposes and uncovered a tunnel within the medical complex. Israel accuses Hamas and other militant groups of sheltering in hospitals and using them for military purposes. Hospitals can lose their protection under international law if they are used for military purposes. The released prisoners accused Israeli authorities of mistreating Palestinian detainees, saying they are subjected to daily physical and psychological humiliation. The pier built by the US military to bring aid to Gaza has been removed due to weather conditions to protect it, and the US is considering not reinstalling it unless the aid begins flowing out into the population again, US officials said on Friday. While the military has helped deliver desperately needed food through the pier, the vast majority of it is still sitting in the adjacent storage yard, and that area is almost full. Aid agencies have had difficulty moving the food to areas further into Gaza where it is most needed because the humanitarian convoys have come under attack. The UN, which has the widest reach in delivering aid to starving Palestinians, hasn't been distributing food and other emergency supplies arriving through the pier since June 9th. The pause came after Israeli military used an area near the pier to fly out hostages after their rescue in a raid that killed more than 270 Palestinians. As we draw to a close, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey ahead. As the conflict continues to unfold, the world watches with bated breath. Prime Minister Netanyahu's unwavering resolve to achieve victory against Hamas underscores the intensity of the situation. However, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza cannot be ignored, with millions suffering from the lack of basic necessities. The stalled diplomatic efforts and the dismantling of US backed initiatives highlight the complexities of finding a peaceful resolution. The future of the region hangs in the balance, with the scope that the path to peace and stability can eventually be found amidst the turmoil. Stay informed and engaged with the latest developments in the current affairs and international relations. Subscribe to our channel, post your comments, and join the conversation. Together, we can understand and influence the future of global peace and stability.